we go. We're back. Mr. Underschultz is hard at work here cleaning up these feet, just getting ready to trim. We've got our horse turned around. You can see that Hank is very comfortable today. And by our third visit now, he kind of knows what's going on. He's not at all too concerned here. I think he probably could trim himself at this point if he could manage the tools, maybe. So Kirk's getting into this with the knife, and I'm going to just be quiet now and watch the magic happen.
Well, this is just pretty much a routine trim and neaten up the sole. We'll neaten up this frog just a little bit. And you can see the excess wall. That's a lot of footage over the 6-week time period. That's also why it should be 6 weeks and not 8 or 10.
That imbalance with the flare certainly wouldn't be as under control at this point if we let it go longer.
I say that is the first time I've trimmed anything off of his outside walls. So we needed to do that just to get a good flat surface and stop that wall from curling underneath. Now that's just a whole different foot there. That's
wow. First thing I notice is he, without prompting by Mac, he just straightened himself up.
And he had a bunch of licking and chewing going on here too, where that just feels so much better to him as he's continuing to relieve stress on that leg.
You tell him, Hank. He's now getting to be a camera ham here. He's looking right into the camera at this point.
Like, I'm starting to like this.
I think so.
So do it again.
Now when I measure, there is 2 5/8 inches. And there also, get back under. Yeah, we're 2.5 here. So we're still an 1/8 inch out. I like the looks of that foot. I don't think I've got enough sole here to take us down another 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to leave us where we are. I was hoping to get him level today, even length, medial lateral, but it was important to take a little foot off of here because of the way it was rolling or beginning to roll. So we're pretty good there. I'm going to leave it at that, and we're still not perfect, but it's improved.
When I see that's an educated judgment, because I can see getting in a hurry with it because it's so tempting for perfection's sake to say, okay, but then you have to keep the horse in mind. He does have to still be ridden in continuous training. You don't want him to be set back. Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to get him trimmed so short for perfection that then he's sore.
Right.
Well, let's scoot him sideways and we'll do the other front foot. Just here.
I think this is going to be good once I switch the camera around. I'm going to try to have the sun to my back. That's a good position right there.
Now this is one of those times when, on the other hoof, my head's working and rolling, and I'm thinking about what's going on, and I started trimming and didn't explain the way I should have for you folks. So, to reiterate a little bit and get more on base here, you can see this hump right there in that sole. That's referred to as the sole callus, where we get that toe. That's the toe callus.
Okay.
So, that's coming out of there with the hoof knife. We just knock that down. A little bit off of that bar. This bar's in pretty good shape. That's really all the sole that we need out of him. Now, I commented on the other foot that this is the first time that I had actually trimmed this outside wall. We ended up with still an 1/8 inch difference because I trimmed that outside wall. And the reason to determine that outside wall is you can see here how this heel is rolling and getting crushed under.
Squeeze in here with my camera. Oh,
look at the different dirt marks there.
Yep, I see that.
Where the pressure's coming way to the outside of this foot, and it's just crushing it.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Well, for the sake of getting his feet perfect, we leave this, And by the time we come out again, it's going to be crushed and just completely knocked down and under.
Oh.
That's not doing this horse a service. He's further ahead to be just an 1/8 inch off balance and a good, solid, healthy heel.
A better base of support, basically.
Better base of support.
That makes sense.
And not trim the inside so much that we get him sore.
Okay.
So now, he's got a little bit low right here to that quarter where he's broken that out. So I'll trim next to nothing there.
Well, and these are all judgments you don't take lightly because you've done many horses that are similar to this to come to these
Absolutely.
conclusions. It's not, it may appear easy, but as the old saying goes, once you take it off, it's not easily coming back.
And you have to remember, I've screwed up a whole bunch of horses doing it wrong before I can figure out how to do it right. And I've tried to fix horses too fast and end up making them sore.
Yeah.
And that's just plain wrong. Doesn't matter if it's a mistake or intentional, it's wrong.
Even if it was well intended, because
Sure.
I've been there myself,
It's still wrong.
it's not good for the horse. Therefore, yes, it's wrong. Yep.
So you learn how to temper your decisions.
Yep. And boy, that can be tempting. Not to, tempting to see the.
But you see on that heel now how that's flat.
Oh yes, now much more solid.
That heel will
Yep.
grow down now, strong and healthy,
Yep.
rather than crushed and rolled under. And it was the same case on the other foot.
Okay.
Now we'll check our measure. And there's 2 5/8, and there's 2 1/2. So again, those feet were an 1/8 inch longer on our inside walls.
Mm-hmm. That kind of goes with his confirmation, though, doesn't it? Because he kind of wants to rotate in just a little bit, so therefore there's more pressure on the outer edges. And could you comment something about how his conformation is from his shoulder down as to the alignment of it?
Well, what you say is correct, but the more correct that we can have his feet in terms of medial-lateral balance, inside, outside,
Okay.
the less that conformation is going to be exaggerated.
I gotcha. We can't, quote, straighten it, but we can certainly improve upon the
And we can take
stress
pressure
of it.
off.
And take,
Yes.
if you think in terms of stress, perhaps, right?
Yes.
You're not straightening anything, but you're relieving the pressure and stress with better balanced feet.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
See, you run into so many people that think, well, now when you set that flat, even balanced foot, you'll get a nice straight-on leg. That's not going to be
Correct.
on a horse like this.
That is not
Yeah.
going to change the actual physical bone structure.
Yeah. Thought that was worth mentioning because that's such a point of confusion for a lot of people. And he gets a free massage in the meantime.
So our next step then is to draw these feet forward, put them on the hoof stand, and we'll
Okay.
get them rounded up.
And you know what? Maybe I'm seeing if you can spin his head towards me, Mac, as Kirk is going to put the foot, you're going to put the feet. I can see better this way, so he's not.
Sounds good.
His head won't be shadowing what we're doing for the hoof stand. That'd be perfect. Good deal.
His feet are already wider. You can tell.
Yeah.
He's standing.
Yep.
He's comfy.
Of all the measurements Kirk took, he probably took one of the width that maybe I didn't get on the camera, but obviously
It's not my notes.
But it's visible.
Yeah,
Which is cool.
You need to measure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
By the way, Mr. Underschultz does a good job. He taught me well that you're only as good as your note taking. When it comes to Farrier, he asks questions. Sometimes I forget, what boot I have on, but if I have my notes with me, then it's so important, I think, to take notes, particularly in a job like this, where you're going quarter inch per quarter inch and whatever,
Well, I work on 50 horses a week. I can't keep
You can't keep track.
a week straight in my mind, week after week after week.
Yep.
So we're going to round up. We pretty much covered that, the hook stand position and the effective rounding.
Yeah, that
So
was
it's just a matter of dressing this foot up now.
Well, I know we mentioned this, but it probably is worth mentioning again. I would say that probably 90% of the balance was created when you're nipping with good nipper control, and this is literally just dressing up at this point, with the exception of a little bit of that flare, but
I think the flies are bothering me a little.
yeah. We can hit the pause button if we need to for some fly spray. You just tell us.
Max Boot's doing good.
So,
Helps a lot, Max. Thank you.
one question, Mr. Kirk.
Yes.
When we're rasping, now I noticed you chose to rasp, you only needed to rasp the lower portion of that hoof. Are there times you would rasp more of the hoof capsule? I can't remember.
If needed, you rasp higher up if that's where flares
And
are originating, yes.
If I believe we did you do that in the very first visit?
Yes.
Was there more? I thought so. Because now it's looking minimal as compared to our first time, which is obviously the goal.
It's coming down to where it's just routine maintenance.
Yeah. Yep. So, very awesome. We hear that maintenance word. That's a good word to hear being uttered in this line of work.
Earlier today, I was working on a large pony that was held by his owner, 11-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. And I was dressing the foot up just like this, and she got all excited because I was giving her pony a French tip, just like her and her mom had done on their fingernails.
That's funny.
She was quite excited about that.
That's funny.
Then we had to discuss, was this a pedicure or a manicure?
Oh boy, well that's and what was your conclusion?
It's a pedicure because it's feet. Yeah. But you can still have French tips on your toenails.
On your toenails.
So all was good.
That's funny. Wow.
And there is a finished trim on him. And off the top of my head, I would say that's about half the time that we took on the first trim.
I was just saying, it looks we're almost approaching 13 minutes on our video, and I believe it was just twice that long it was the last time.
There's not as much work to do. He's more comfortable for you, so he's standing better. We didn't have to keep changing feet to take pressure off of his sore legs. And there was nearly as much to discuss because he's getting towards normal.
This is great. Now, how many more? We're already uttering the words normal and maintenance trim based on what you're seeing on this third visit. How many more visits to where you're thinking this is a solid, consistent balance for the horse, where you're not going to have to?
One more.
One more trim, he'll be confirmed. Great.
Very commonly, shoeing or trimming doesn't matter. Shoeing or barefoot doesn't matter. When I come in on new feet and wonky feet, whatever issues the horses have, I've got 3 cycles, and I can have a horse 80-85% correct. So here's our third cycle, and he perhaps I would consider him more like about 75% correct. So he's a little bit on the other end of the scale. He'll actually take a 4th trim cycle.
Right.
But even at this, if we can get 75-80% correct, these horses do very, very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're a full year after that, getting that last 20% fine-tuned. From this point, now we need to actually for this horse, for him, the following number 4 trim.
Yeah.
Then we need a year to grow that hoof from the hairline down and get that last 20% fine-tuned.
And then would it be reasonable with a horse with this history at some point to be able to go on an 8-week, or would he still be more of a 5 or 6 week? What would you?
I like my clients on a 6-week trim cycle in the summer, 8 weeks in the winter because of slower growth in the winter. But the longer these feet get, the more they roll back, the more torque and pressure is on, again, joint tendons, ligaments from the bottom of the foot, from the coffin bone clear up to the shoulder, or the hip if we're talking the back end. And so if you have a vehicle and you change the oil every 3,000 miles, you put 200,000 or 300,000 miles on the vehicle and never open the motor.
Yeah,
and
good point.
If you take that same vehicle and you change the oil every 15,000 miles, by the time you got 120 miles on the 120,000 miles on that vehicle, you got major problems with the motor. And the routine maintenance on these horses is so effective for the longevity, the lifespan of the horse. If I've got horses with issues, particularly arthritic issues, I like them on a 5-week cycle in the summer and 7 weeks in the winter.
That's good. Good to know where, what to plan for, after we're kind of over the hump.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's barefoot.
Yeah.
Same thing, or even a week shorter with shoes.
Okay, great. Everything's doing so well here. Did you want to point something out in the hinds, or shall we wrap it up with now? Do we have anything in the hinds that you need to...
concentrated all along on these front feet because they were so out of balance, so abnormal, so obvious, and we just keep it right there.
Yeah.
His hind feet, they weren't great when we started, but they were minor.
Yeah. He's kind of in line too. Even when he stomps a fly and his feet land in the camera, he's in line.
Yep.
Front leg and the hind leg is in line with the front left and hind left and all so forth. They just look super. In closing here, Mr. Matt, do you have anything you'd like to add in going forward? What's your plans between our next visit? Because it sounds to me like we're going to be back for visit number 4. Well, so I'd like to hear what your plan is between now and then.
So in between then and there, I was kind of talking with you earlier, Brian. I felt like I had maybe rushed him a little bit. He's pretty, he's buckskin. It's easy to get a little bit overzealous. So I'm focusing on making our experiences positive and rewarding ones. Extreme, that is the only goal. The only focus is when I take him out of his pasture, he has fun and he builds confidence with me, not just riding or getting more back into the saddle or back into this, back into that. It's just, let's make Hank enjoy this and seek confidence from me. So I'm actually going to a Dan Keene horsemanship clinic coming up out at Smoke Rise. So I'm hoping to learn a lot more there, see what I can do for Hank, just continuing to build my skills. And Hank and I are learning at the same time. And he's already come. I mean, this is a different horse from when you guys
he certainly is.
Came here. So.
Different physically and mentally.
Doing the right thing, but treading very lightly and giving Hank all the space. It might be a year, it might be a couple of months. I don't know. It's however long he takes, as long as he keeps on the path that we're going.
Great. Well, this has been so great. We're going to be looking forward to seeing this on our Farrier-Friendly Network YouTube channel and other places, and then it might be nice maybe to check in a year later after our initial 4th visit. Then there'll be a time period where it will just be a maintenance trimming, and then maybe we'll just come back on it a year later just to check in at least.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see where we are in a year.
Cool. All right, well, we're going to say goodbye for now, and we'll catch up with you later on down the trail. Thanks, guys. Thanks.